Now, Pets as Therapy is a national charity that provides animal-assisted therapeutic visits in places like hospitals, hospices, residential care homes, schools and universities. And now, PAT teams also work in 35 prisons, giving prisoners the chance to interact with a friendly dog. And I'm delighted to say that sat in front of me, two people from the prison service, spokesperson for the prison service, but we've got Sarah Jones, Sharon James and Michael Campbell. Sharon, you have Boris.
I do.
Who's a terrier?
He's a Norjack, so he's a Norfolk Terrier Jack's son.
Right, so you're going to have to come in close to the microphone. You're speaking ever so quietly to Sarah, aren't you?
I do.
Okay. And Sarah, you've got Tinkerbell.
That's right, she's a sprocker.
A what?
A sprocker, she's a Springer Cocker.
A spocker.
Sprocker.
Sprocker. Good, I'm learning something new every day. Okay, so tell me how it works when you go into prisons. What happens? I mean, you don't let the dogs run free, do you? I mean, what happens?
The dogs stay with us on the lead all through the day.
Yeah.
They spend time with, sometimes with staff and sometimes with the prisoners. They stay with us. So we may go to a meeting, we may go to specialist areas in the prison to support the men.
And you are prison officers, are you? Is that...
I'm a psychologist.
Oh, okay, working in the prison.
Yes.
Okay, so what impact do the dogs have on the prisoners?
I like to think that the dogs encourage the men to get in touch with that part of them that cares. The prison environment can be really cold and really harsh, and it's helpful for the men to be able to spend time with the dog who's very soft, and to really connect with that part of them that cares.
What sort of things will they be doing with the dogs? I mean, is it just a sort of a visit where they get to play with them, or are there specific things that they do?
Boris goes actually onto the therapeutic community where he interacts with long-service prisoners. There is a couple of guys he goes to see on a regular basis, and with them he noticed a change. Some of them suffer from mental health, and he just lightens the day. When they know he's coming, you have to be there on time. It's just overwhelming. You know, the big men, but when they see a little dog, and it's just nice.
It sort of taps into that little bit of psychology that you're saying, big men in an environment like a prison.
Yes.
And then there's this very real connection with an animal.
Yes, it's really nice.
Absolutely. And do the dogs know that they're going in? I mean, I've spoken to lots of pets as therapy, and they say, oh, I know we're going to the hospice this week, or we're going to a school, or whatever it might be. Do you think they get a sense that they're going into that environment?
He does. Boris runs into work. He does, and all the staff as well get a really good pleasure in meeting Boris. They like to see him, because a lot of staff as well suffer with different things. So yeah, it's really good.
So the dogs that you've brought are your pet dogs,
yes,
are they? Okay. So
yes.
what was the point where you thought this is going to be a great idea? My pet is going to make a good pets as therapy dog and work in a prison.
I think it's with me because Boris has got a really good nature. It gives me lots of pleasure, and it's nice to give back that pleasure to somebody else. And that's how I just got involved to do that.
Okay. And what about Tinkerbell?
I think when I realised that other members of staff were bringing their dogs in, I just realised that actually, Tinkerbell does have that very calm nature. She just wants to be cuddled. She's very happy to spend time with anyone at all. For that cuddle, so she gives, but she also receives, I think. So it works really well.
And I guess the dog isn't judgmental in any way.
Absolutely not, and that's what really helps. I take Tinkerbell to the healthcare unit and to what we call the care and separation unit. So she spends time with people who are also having issues with their mental health. They might be harming themselves, or they may have harmed others in the prison. And so she spends time with those, helping them to relax a little bit during the meetings that they have to go to, the support meetings, helping them to relax and to engage with the staff.
And do you, over a period of time, have you seen a difference in the prisoners that you've worked with?
There ones that Tinkerbell sees, really, she sees them on a short-term basis, but they would be in crisis at that moment. So it's really nice to be able to take her to see someone who's in crisis, who will then connect with her on that day for that hour, perhaps. So it might be very short-term for Tinker, but yes, we see that change while she's actually in there, and they're able to kind of relax a little bit and spend that time
fantastic
having a cuddle.
Michael Campbell from Prison Service, what a phenomenal initiative this is. There must be some level of measurement going on which says the Prison Service can say this is beneficial.
I think there is. I don't work full-time for the Prison Service. I work for people like the Serco, who manage Dovegate on behalf of the Ministry of Justice, and Sodexo, who do the same. The pets as therapy program that are certainly in all the majority of jails, 35 different jails. The effect that it can have on not just reducing the self-harm statistics that we have in prison, which are atrocious, but it can help reduce violence, believe it or not. It creates a bond between not just the dog, but the handler and the prisoner. So it can show the prisoner that for the want of a better word, that the officer is actually a human being, not just a guard, terrible word, but actually an officer who's there to try and help. If you do that, then you reduce the violence, you reduce the assaults against the staff, assaults against prisoners, and if you reduce violence, you reduce self-harm. So when they leave the gate, they come out shaped slightly better than when they were entered. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a little bit like bringing what used to be a normal existence into what is not a normal existence.
Exactly, Steve. They say that prison is supposed to be a microcosm of the community outside. It genuinely isn't. It's dangerous, violent places. But if you can give prisoners a bit of normalcy for 5 minutes out of the day, to remind them what happens outside. And animals do that because everybody loves animals. So it kind of releases the stress that go on in prisons. And it just releases slightly. And if you can do that, then maybe they can talk to the officers while they're petting the dog about issues that they may be having. And if we can do that, we can catch them before they fall.
Is there any tangible evidence of lowering, say, reoffending rates? Or
I think it's difficult to do that. What I was talking to Pets as Therapy about is we can look at statistics of prior to having Pets as Therapy in the jail and post Pets as Therapy in the jail. And whilst we can't say that somebody hasn't hurt themselves because of this, we could say that it's a contributing factor to it. And it certainly is, because I've witnessed it in not just in Dovegate, but in many other prisons, of where there's this bond created between officers and staff, which if there's a bond, they're less likely to be assaulted. They're less likely, the individual's less likely to hurt themselves. It's the warm and cosy feeling, but it's also the fact of, but there is a reason behind this. And it's the reason behind it that works.
It's in 35 prisons at the moment. It sounds to me like there's evidence that this should be a national initiative. 100%. It's a progressive thinking that will help the well-reported issues of the prison service.
I 100% agree. There's about 116 jails throughout England and Wales. And if I had my way, it'd be in 116 jails throughout England and Wales because it works. It does. It's difficult to say in a black and white thing sitting in the House of Commons as Alex Chalk saying, look, Pets as Therapy works. But ask any prison officer and ask any prisoner, then they'll tell you that it works. That for 5 minutes out of the day, they don't think about hurting themselves. And that has to be good news, because we need to remember that of the 80-odd thousand people that are in jail today, 79,500 of them will be released at one time or another. So if we can help them become better within themselves, then that helps the community in long term.
Absolutely. It's long-term progressive thinking that's going to get us to a better place, isn't it? Now, the dogs are keen to get involved in front of me here, which is fantastic. Just finally, what would you say to anybody who is listening and doesn't necessarily want to be involved with the prison service, but might be thinking about getting involved with Pets as Therapy because there are other outlets that they can put their time and effort into? What would you say to them?
I'd actually say give it a go. You get a lot of pleasure out of it, meeting different people, and even taking them to old people's home, it brightens people's day, it lightens people's lives, and I just think it was really good stress relief. I'd definitely give it a go.
Yes, I would agree. Totally go for it. Have a look online, have a look at the website, get involved. There is an assessment that your dog will go through. It's very low key. It's done in a very supportive way, and it's very enjoyable.
Very rewarding.
There you go. The smiles on your faces. If we could put those onto radio, it'd sell the prospect. And the dogs are sat so nicely here as well. What a fantastic story. It's really good to hear of initiatives like this. So Sarah, Sharon and Michael, thank you very much for joining us here at Crufts.
Thank you very much.